Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I would like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of September 13th, 2023. The City Council meets all requirements of the State of Washington Open Public Meetings Act. Community members are welcome to join either in person, remote, via Zoom, or by calling in. For those who wish to participate in the future on Zoom, you'll find the instructions to register for public comment on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. Please note, we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Clerk, will you please call the roll this evening?
Mayor Franklin.
Excused?
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Excused?
Councilmember Vogely.
Excused?
Councilmember Fossey.
Excused?
Vice President Toohey.
Here.
Councilmember Schwab.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
President Stonecipher.
Here. Vice President, or Councilmember Schwab, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Ryan, would you please read the land acknowledgement?
Absolutely. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shahobes people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection to these lands and waters. We will be honest, we'll strive to be honest about our past mistakes to bring about a future that includes their voices, their stories, and their people to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. And I'm going to hold the minutes of September 6th to our subsequent meeting because we do not have a quorum of council members who were at that meeting to vote on those minutes. So we will hold those until next week. And that brings us to public comment. Angie, do we have anyone signed up to speak this evening?
Good evening, President Stonecipher. We do. We have one online and a few in chambers, so I'll start with online. Jeremy, if you could state your full name and city of residence. You have 5 minutes to speak, and I'll share my screen so you can see the timer. Just one moment. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Good evening, elected officials, or the ones that are there. My name is Jeremy Olson. I live in District 3. I would love to spend my time talking about the direction the city should move towards to become fiscally responsible. Sadly, instead, I need to remind you that not long ago, I told you our schools and community are not safe. This is not merely my perception when a child is gunned down and killed at a school bus stop. As a father of a middle school student, I feel obligated to address the serious issues facing our community of youth mental health and gang violence, and ask you what the city plans to do to better protect our children. School districts have proven they are not capable of keeping our students safe. This has sadly been proven in the first week of school. There were 394 murders reported in Washington State in 2022, setting a new all-time record, and we're on pace to surpass that record this year again. Mayor, don't know where you're at. I've seen your recycled directives on gang violence over and over, year after year. Please don't tell me you think that Big Homie, Scooby, or Hitler are ever gonna turn in guns for a gift card. Gang violence isn't going to be solved with gun buyback programs. Youth violence is getting worse, which proves that the city has been doing everything wrong. It's not working. It's time to take a fresh look at the problems and address them differently. The Everett Police Department knew the victim was involved with gang activity. They knew he had been involved in a shooting recently with a rival gang. And all the talking that's done with the schools, was this communicated to them? Calling this a gun violence problem ignores the root issues that is gang violence. We know that gangs prey on the most vulnerable, and that post-pandemic we are facing the worst youth mental health crisis in generations. Meanwhile, the city has gutted our recreation services, closed our pool, and is exploring the development of a new baseball stadium in the North End likely. Instead, we should be focused on upstream prevention programs for at-risk youth. Maybe build a community center or teen center in both North and South Everett. To think the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club is going to fill the gap for our youth in South Everett is ridiculous. If you don't fix the budget, there aren't funds to do this difficult work, which is why the city needs to set its pride aside instead of worrying about what patch is on the shoulders of our firefighters. Admit that we have a youth gang issue and stop thinking the school districts have these safety issues under control. In conclusion, it's time to acknowledge our community's growing gang violence problem, take immediate action, and fix the budget so we can address the issues going forward. Thank you for your time, and I would like to thank Susie from Finance for her great response to my email, and I will talk to you soon, Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We will move on to people in chambers. So if we could have Mickey come to the podium, followed by Carol. And if you could please state your full name, city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
And I'll let you know that there's a little, so we'll set the timer here. It comes on green. When you have 30 seconds left, it turns orange, and then it turns red and kind of does a beep when your time is up. I think
Okay.
it's also there on the
Will
podium.
that show the
I
remaining
think
time?
Yep, it sure will.
Perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Mickey Hazen. I'm a resident of Everett. And I'm here to express a pair of related concerns tonight, as well as a new development that came up after I typed all this up. I'm really concerned about the city's website. It contains a lot of inaccurate information, broken links. I mean, it's just crazy. And of almost greater concern is when you bring that up to a city employee in a department that's it's related to, the general response is something like, it's not, oh, let me see if we can get that fixed. It tends to be more along the lines of, that's outside my purview, it's not my department, I have nothing to do with that. And that's, to me, just seems to be wrong. The Everett Police Department website seems to be the worst. If you try and submit a complaint using the form on the website, you get an error message that says, form data cannot be submitted to the provided server. I advised the police department and the mayor's office of this on August 25th. It still doesn't work. I provided them additional information today. The link on the police webpage to their strategic initiatives for 2023 in the Get Information section leads you to a thing that requires a City of Everett email address and password to be able to access that document. It's not publicly available. Everett Police, until I brought it to their attention, apparently had for years a number listed on their webpage of who to call if you couldn't submit an online report. Apparently it was a long outdated number, rang to an empty office and rang forever. There's no phone in that office, there's no person in that office, and no voicemail for that number. They did correct that after I brought it to their attention. I went to animal control to look something up when I was licensing my dog. I went to the link to look up the animal-related code for the city of Everett. It's a broken link. I brought that to their attention 6 weeks ago. It hasn't been fixed. The employee had zero interest in doing anything about it. When I went to the city council webpage to sign up to speak tonight, potentially on Zoom, there's the form that you fill out has a link if you don't know your council district. Where you click on it, that brings you to a web page that requires something called an ArcGIS login, which of course I don't have. I don't know what that is. And I did report that to the executive assistant. Not to be left out, the mayor's page has a bunch of broken links. There's a link to a Safe Streets Plan and Initiative. It goes nowhere. It's a broken link. And the most recent news in the recent news section was last updated in 2017. I would hope that there's more going on in Everett than that. The link to water main breaks hasn't been updated since early 2016. And almost laughably, the Everett Police Department has a webpage entitled Community Transparency Dashboard, where we are encouraged in a memo from Chief Templeman to review the department policy manual at the provided link. That link brings up an error message. It goes nowhere. It does not bring up a policy manual. There's just, nobody's testing these links. And if they're testing them from something that's connected to the city servers, and they're going to get a different answer than the public gets. So I just think there needs to be better attention to this because it's pervasive. And last but not least, I discovered today that when I filed a complaint a month ago with the City of Everett Police Department, they deleted it and took no action on it. And they'd never made any effort to let me know, even after I submitted it a second time. I have called and got no response until I finally got a hold of somebody today who finally confessed that they had deleted the formal complaint that I filed without even reading it. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Carol, could you please come to the podium, followed by Janine? And please state your full name and city of residence.
Thank you. My comment topic is just women's rights in Washington State. And I'm speaking on the topic of women's rights of choice. And just as a reminder, abortion has been legal in Washington State since 1970. I've been on the side, I've been on the sidewalk 4 years now at Planned Parenthood. I've seen many Christian identity groups come and go. These people hold sincere beliefs that they are helping our society and women of Washington State by trying to shut down our Planned Parenthood clinic and hindering people from getting the reproductive care that they need. Some have held a 5-foot cross, while others have held a large poster of a partially dismembered full-term baby. We, as supporters of Planned Parenthood, stand to send a clear message that we will not condone groups who seek to prevent women from receiving health care or getting their concerns addressed by healthcare professionals at Planned Parenthood. We must support free speech, but we must also make it clear that we support women's right to choice through our collective speech. I think that this is such an important issue that I would like the council to enact a resolution that declares Everett a sanctuary city for women seeking abortion. Thank you for your consideration and your time on this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next, Janine, followed by David. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Janine Demery, Everett, Washington. I went to my first ever political meeting the same night as the mayoral candidates Cassie Franklin and Judy Toohey were to be addressing the 38th legislative district. A night that changed my level of involvement in my community that continues to this day. Leading up to the election, Cassie, the candidate, spent some time with the Planned Parenthood sidewalk supporters known at that time as the Janes to get our support and to get our votes. Cassie, the mayor, assured me and others in this city that she is for protecting access to abortion and health care after the city badly bungled the John Bywater case. I believed her, just like so many of us did. I spoke on the same day as Cassie, the mayor, at the Bands Off Our Bodies event at the county courthouse May 14th, 2022. So you can imagine my utter shock and disappointment when others and I were recently informed that that Mayor Franklin's office is asserting that the reason for the unrest at Planned Parenthood is not the protesters that come to that clinic from other cities, counties, and even states to harass our patients. Nope, it's the volunteer escorts at Planned Parenthood. I wonder if anyone who is involved in making the assertion also asked themselves why patient escorts are needed in the first place. Readily available statistics and evidence that we already have has shown us that it's not patient escorts that are causing these problems. For shame. This lends more evidence to the repeated theme of the city's non-response to a problem that will not go away because they continue to do nothing and wonder why it doesn't get better. Now that you have 2 patient escorts that were subject to 4th-degree assault by anti-abortion protesters, one being myself, the police have now resorted to threatening patient escorts with arrest for obstruction of justice due to where we stand with our umbrellas, occasionally on a sidewalk easement that connects to the driveway of the property. Keep in mind, this only occurs when barricades are up. What do you think contributed to this unwanted touch by anti-abortion protesters? Was it my rainbow umbrella? Was it too bright? Was my standing in a spot 6 inches into the public right-of-way mean I was asking for it? The constant victim shaming continues. The city's lack of enforcing the law when it comes to an assault of a patient escort is the reason the situation never gets better and continues to fuel mistrust of the police. Intimidation and punishment for those trespassed against, but not the trespassers, sounds about far right. The level of gaslighting myself and others have experienced in recent years, and especially now, leaves no trust in these institutions. I ask you, Mayor Franklin, where did this go off the rails in your commitment to protecting access to abortion and health care? Your police department is now threatening to arrest patient escorts that provide the actual physical commitment to ensuring access that you said you wanted to protect. When Fuse Washington pulled their 25 endorsements from you in 2017, I wish I would have paid better attention and voted differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. David, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Randy. David?
Good job.
Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
I'm David Mascarenas, 11 Laurel Drive. If you guys didn't hear that message, it's my first time hearing it from Janine, and an escort at Planned Parenthood on 37th Hoyt. It's going to be a real contentious issue, and the people like Janine who are escorts and they're volunteers don't think they're getting any kind of support from Planned Parenthood or from the City of Everett Police Department, who are out all the time. They seem to be not too favorable to Planned Parenthood. Personal opinion. So what I'm trying to point out to you is that Planned Parenthood, I was here a couple of weeks ago, as you know, talking about how we have to, all the cities have got to start supporting neighborhoods, historical neighborhoods. Planned Parenthood falls in that category of a clinic, women's clinic, a nonprofit women's clinic. And if you all read September 9th, Everett Herald, what's happening in Everett Clinic? Thousands of people are going to lose their insurance. I'm one of those. 25 years, they told me they wouldn't come here anymore. I was one of those lucky people who told them to kiss my butt, kiss my you know what. But those 1,000 people are going, 50% are going to be women. So women are going to be looking for a place like Planned Parenthood for their care, because Planned Parenthood does not charge. They go by what you can do. So it's going to be more important in our community that Planned Parenthood is going to take more, with more and more people come to our community to support people like Janine, who's a volunteer to keep down the harassment. You've all been out there. The city attorney's been out there. It's ridiculous. You should not, a woman who does not have insurance, who's going into a healthcare clinic for whatever, it's nobody's damn business but hers, should not have to go through that gamut of people hollering at her, screaming at her, you murder your baby, knocking on her windows, everything else. They should not have to go through that. So I think what Janine was asking, and people like Janine are, help out. They're volunteers, women supporting women. But it's got to come to that. I think Everett's come far enough, there's enough good people in Everett, till we have to go with people like Planned Parenthood for that service, because we cannot afford insurance to go to the Everett Clinic, because we all read that article in the Herald. It's for business. If you don't have your money to go there, get the hell out of here. So they're going to have to go to Planned Parenthood. So the city has got to really start helping out and supporting Planned Parenthood and these volunteers. Again, it's women supporting women, and a couple of us guys. So thank you so much for, but please think about it. Just like the historical neighborhoods, Planned Parenthood is now a part of our community, and it's a vital part of our community. And people like Janine are vital to our community because it doesn't cost the city anything. They're doing it free. She believes in it, she's doing it free. So please consider that, help out, and thank you.
Thank you, David. Randy, if you could please come to the podium. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Randy Stimson. I live in Mukilteo. In Everett, I own rental property, 2 houses, a duplex, and a condo. Also in Everett are 8 of my 10 grandchildren that I visit frequently. The city of Everett is becoming a bathroom desert, and that's a problem, especially for people my age. When I'm out running errands, I usually have to use the bathroom at least once. Maybe I'll stop at a gas station, but the bathroom is under fake construction and is closed. Maybe I'll stop at Starbucks. The lobby is closed. Maybe I'll stop at a fast food restaurant. Eureka, there is a bathroom, but it has a combination lock, and there's 3 people waiting to place their orders. This is not just a problem for me, but for hundreds of people living in the city of Everett. Councilmember Vogley, who's not here, this is an accessibility problem for people that have medical conditions like frequent urination, urgency, and irritable bowel syndrome. We all know why it's happening. Homeless people. Homeless people need a place for personal hygiene, and all too often they take a sponge bath in a bathroom of a business. Sometimes they're slow. Sometimes they make a mess. Sometimes they're crazy. Imagine that you're a new employee at Starbucks. You thought you were hired to make coffee and take orders, but then you find out you also have to be a bathroom bouncer, and sometimes you call the police. Because of bathroom battles with the homeless, the Starbucks across from Home Depot in South Everett is closed, and many other businesses are affected. However, homeless people need regular places for personal hygiene. Partly due to limited hygiene options, the homeless suffer from medical conditions like cellulitis and trench foot. It's also hard to care for diabetic sores and spider bites, which can lead to sepsis. These conditions are life-threatening and can result in hospitalization, amputation, or death. The city of Everett can save businesses, taxpayer money, and homeless lives if they find a way to give every homeless person a shower every day. And that's what I'm here to ask for. This is not just a problem in Everett, it's nationwide. Can the city of Everett lead the way and make sure every homeless person can have a shower every day? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, and that concludes our public comments.
Okay, thank you. And I think that brings us, the mayor is out this evening, so we'll move on to council comments and liaison reports. Council Vice President Tui.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who came this evening. Really passionate comments. Appreciate that. And the last gentleman that spoke, I think Chris, was that your first name? Am I right on that? No. Randy, I'm sorry. We are working on a day shelter, which and some public restrooms in out in the downtown core. So, and the day shelter hopefully will take care of the shower needs. It's just hard to get it done fast enough, but we are working on that. So thank you for your comments, though. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilmember Schwab.
Yeah, thank you for the speakers coming forward. And that's all I have, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
That was way too quick. That was quick. I gotta get my notes up. Great. Thank you as well to the speakers tonight, and especially Mickey's left, but thank you for the heads up about the broken links. I think the city's digital doorstep is incredibly important to increasing trust with our residents, and so I would like to make a request of administration to look into the suggestions and the concerns that were brought up, and maybe our public information officer, our communications director, our director of outreach and engagement, any of those individuals could help with spearheading efforts to look into the concerns and just making our website more accessible to folks and accurate. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. And I also want to thank Janine and David for the comments tonight. And I'm sorry I missed the first person's name. My apologies. Thank you. I'd like to make another request of administration for some updated information about the Everett Forward grant that was used to awarded to Planned Parenthood to increase security and privacy at the Planned Parenthood site. I'm worried about the Planned Parenthood site. We all know that there had been a bombing there. I think it's 20 years ago now, 25. And so I'm kind of have concerns that there might be similar actions. And I think that the work that our escorts do is incredibly important to protect the health and safety of people seeking medical care. So thank you for the work that you do in our community. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Randy for sharing your comments tonight and coming out. I really appreciate that too. This week I went to on Monday I attended the Glacier View Neighborhood Association meeting at Milk House Coffee Company, and it was a really great turnout. Just really glad to see that neighborhood up and running with their new neighborhood association. And then right after that I biked over to the Port Gardner Neighborhood Association meeting. We had a fantastic update about the Wall Street Connector project that's happening at Everett Station to increase pedestrian and bike access from Everett Station to the downtown area. So looking forward to different groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings for that project. And there was also a community member shared that Depot Park is in full bloom if folks are looking for a place to spend a lovely afternoon, and that they also have a work party this Saturday from 10 to 12 if anybody has extra time, and you can lend some hands for easy work. So check it out. On Tuesday, I attended the Cultural Arts Commission meeting, and it was really impressive to hear the summation of all the great events over the course of the summer. There was something almost every weekend here in Everett that folks could enjoy. So the data that was collected showed a dramatic increase in attendance for all of the events, and just folks coming to downtown Everett, and just the economic multipliers that go along with that increased attendance is just a really great news for our city. So glad to hear all that. And to share as a mental placeholder for folks, nominations for the Wentz and Mayor's Arts Awards will open up in October sometime. Some more information to come, but just get to thinking about different folks you'd like to nominate for those awards. And that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you. And I too want to thank our speakers for coming this evening. And I learned some things that I did not know were going on. Obviously, our website, that's a real concern of mine. We have a very large communications team at the city, and I would ask, in addition to Councilmember Ryan's request, I would really like to hear the results of an audit of the website and what the plan would be for rectifying what sounds like are many concerns with being able to access information. So if we can get an administrative briefing on that, that would be great, and maybe bring the communications director to council so we can ask questions. With regard to Planned Parenthood, I was not aware that this was sort of resuming again. I know we've had sort of waxes and wanes over there in terms of the conflict, but I'm very sorry to hear that this is the case, and I think that I would love for the council to get a briefing on what our stance is. I know there are some constitutional issues that allow people to say things that they want to say, but certainly if we've got any kind of touching, that sounds like that crosses the line with what is actually allowed by the Constitution. So I'd love to hear what we're doing there. And also, I think Councilmember Ryan has a great question around the Everett Forward grant. What's happening on that? With regard to the public restrooms, I can't remember the timeline on that, so if we could get briefed in the future on just sort of where we're at on that. I know we'd identified the restroom stalls that we wanted to use, and I know that one is going to be installed downtown. I think the other one is in South Everett somewhere, but I would be curious to hear about that. It is a problem. I noticed that in a lot of businesses, they've got their restrooms closed now because they just can't monitor that and make sure that people aren't up to no good. So would love to hear about where we're at on that. And I know there is a shower resource as well. I'm sure Julie Willie could give us some information around what the shower situation is, because I know there has been a trailer that travels around to various locations, but I'm not exactly sure what kind of schedule they're on. So I'd love to hear about that. That's all for me. Do we have an administrative update?
Yeah, I do have a few things, and then a couple items that I know about, and then thank you for some others that we'll follow up on.
Thank you.
First, the mayor sends her apologies for not being able to attend tonight. I just wanted to highlight that she did send a thorough update on the stadium project by email yesterday afternoon, and we are planning a full council briefing in the next few weeks or so. Last week, Chief Templeman provided some information on police staffing, particularly related to the COPS grant-funded positions, so just wanted to highlight that. And then two more that I plan to brief you on. Earlier today, Finance Director Haugen sent some information about same kind of thing, the positions in the 2023 budget amendment that are supported both with grants and then grant match dollars, and then others that are fully general government funded. That email also had an explanation of our process for budgeting for vacancies. That's something that Everett has used for decades, and so just wanted to make sure that was noted. And then last week at our meeting, council members Vogely and Fossey asked about staffing and hiring freeze authority. Our city attorney, Ramsey Rammerman, sent a memo this afternoon on that topic, so you should definitely make sure to review it. I have a partial answer that I'll just share now on the questions around Planned Parenthood. There was an Everett Forward grant that they received supporting privacy and security. In the last 4 years, our team has continued to work closely with them to strategize ways to keep their clinics safe, reduce impacts for patients accessing services. That funding is to support fencing and then also it's kind of some frontage changes that they support. I think that there might be some timing around eligibility, so working through federal requirements that might make that disbursement a little bit slow, but I know our staff are working on that. And then anyways, I made some notes while you guys were talking, so I know there's another piece of that we'll follow up on later. Regarding the website, this week the mayor actually did, we've heard from the member of the public who came tonight, and the mayor did direct our leadership to review, have their departments review all of our website links. So that's underway, and I'll make sure to review the questions that you guys had to see if there's anything else that we can update on. We do have, a part of the website also is kind of that accessibility piece and the Americans with Disability Act. So sometimes we think about that as just kind of like crosswalks and physical accessibility, but communication accessibility is an important part of it too. And Candy Bartlett is in charge of that ADA transition plan on the citywide basis. So not just the kind of those physical improvements, but also those other elements. And she's doing a briefing at Safe Community Committee this month, so in a couple weeks. And then I don't know if Chief Templeman, maybe not quite. No, if he's not in here, that's fine. I know that he probably would have just shared that we've heard the concerns about those police contacts, and really just a really unfortunate but simple and one simple error in deleting that email, and we made contact with that member of the public who made those comments, and we're following up on it. Okay, well, I'll keep moving. I think that probably addresses what I might have asked him to say. My last piece, last week we had a resident who actually spoke again tonight, who spoke about budget challenges and options. you guys know this, that assessing new ways to offer services that are efficient and meet the needs of our community makes sense. And that's, of course, that's why we've been reviewing a variety of them. A lot of the options that this resident mentioned last week really kind of have two sides. They do help the city budget with our funds and expenditures, but they are also likely to reduce, or to not reduce, the opposite of that. They're also likely to include increased taxes for the public. So there is a nuance to that, and I think he heard that from our finance director with that email that he referenced. And then, of course, as you guys know, Everett Transit is a separately funded enterprise fund, so changes to that don't impact the general government structural deficit. Chief Templeman, I did kind of speak to Ms. Hazen's comments, but I don't know if you didn't hear what I said, but if you have any, you are welcome to add anything right now.
Yeah, well, good evening, Dan Templeman, Police Chief. And yeah, I just had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Hazen out in the lobby for quite some time. And I'll be the first one to admit that we can do better when it comes to our website management. And so I assured her that we would go through methodically. It will take some time, especially with the other priorities that we have pressing in the community today, but that we will go through our website and confirm that links are working and that phone numbers go to the right spot. As far as her complaint is concerned, she did submit it, and it was inadvertently deleted, which was explained to her, and then she was able to resubmit that complaint, and it had been forwarded down the chain of command a couple weeks ago and is still in process. So we'll be following up with her. She does have a direct point of contact with our agency who has been in communication with her, and we will continue to, like I say, monitor the website and make those changes as we can.
Thank you. We will move to City Attorney Hall. What do you have for us this evening, Mr. Hall?
No report from legal. We are requesting a 10-minute executive session pursuant to RCW 4231-10-1I with council action to follow.
Thank you. Before we move on with our consent agenda, Councilmember Vogely had forwarded some questions this week regarding items 5 and 6. I know she's not here tonight, but she did also forward her questions, so I will move those two items. She had requested they be moved to the action agenda, so we're going to move that. So I would ask for a motion to move the remaining 5 consent items, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7.
Councilmember Ryan moves approval of consent items 1 through 4 and 7.
Second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice President Toohey?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
President Stonecipher?
Yes. We have 3 proposed action items. They have all been read into the record, so I won't read those. Are there any questions on the proposed action items, items 8 through 10? Seeing none, we will move on to our action agenda. We're going to start with those items that came down from the consent agenda. Item 5, authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Brown and Caldwell, Inc. to provide additional engineering consulting services for the Port Gardner Storage Facility project for a revised total compensation amount not to exceed $15,736,387. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. And Councilmember Vogely's question, I think might have been for both of these, but I will just ask it. She was requesting that we have an explanation on how, on item 5, with the cost increase of approximately 11 million for consulting, and then that there was another contract for the Port Gardner facility for another 4 million. She's not questioning the necessity, just trying to understand what's going on here, so.
Thanks, and thank
Sahil,
Yeah,
you don't
thank
get to
you.
come see us very often.
The agenda that we had action for 8, and then proposed for these ones. So I think.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. So regarding item number 5, it really is not an increase. This is just the amount that is needed to finish the project, because we came, initially, I'm going to go through a little bit of the timeline on how we got to this point, briefly. So back in 2021, August 28th, August 18, 2021, we submitted our plans and systems ordinance, which basically does not commit the city to any funds, but it reserves some budget for this project at that time. And this is for the PGSF, the entire project. So it's for the PGSF program, not only the facilities itself, but also for all of the conveyance systems. So that plans and systems ordinance was, the funding amount was $39,600,000, which with all the information we had at the time, we kind of make sure that it's built up enough to not have to come back and ask for an amendment to it. And then February 2nd, 2022, came back to the council with the PSA, specific PSA, to deal with the PGSF facilities. PGSF is Port Gardner Storage Facilities. This is the old Kimberly-Clark site, and we are converting their treatment facilities into a combined sewer detention facility and also for stormwater treatment. And it's required because that is the best solution for us to be able to meet the agreed order with Department of Ecology to bring our outfalls, our combined sewer outfalls into compliance by the end of 2027. That's what the agreed order says. So at that time, which is normal this is pretty standard procedure for all capital improvement projects, and specifically for the larger ones, is we basically, because we don't have as much information, we are supposed to be doing a study evaluation, and that informs us of how we're going to move forward, what costs and stuff like that. We basically come with the initial PSA that will will do all of the, it will prepare an engineering report that is submitted usually to one of the agencies, whether it's Department of Health or Department of Ecology, depending on the type of the project. And then they approve it, which gives the concept of what we're going to do, generates all the projects that will be needed. And then after that, and that's all included in that PSA. So we prepare that engineering report. Then from that point on, we bring up the design to 30% level. And in it, we basically, we state that we will be coming back to council to take the design from 30% to completion. And also, sometimes we come back one more time for services during construction. In this project, we have elected to basically cover that in this PSA. So we'll not be coming back for services during construction. So it really is not an increase. It's always been budgeted and figured that's going to be in there. So it's just now we are at the point where we have arrived at 30%, and we need to bring the project to fruition.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Vogely will not be asking her questions. So if she has follow-ups, we will send her to you.
Sure.
Otherwise, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice President Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
President Stonesifer?
Yes, and then we'll take up that item 6 that came off the consent agenda, authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with Brown and Caldwell, Inc. to provide engineering consulting services for the PGSF WMVD storm and combined sewer project for an amount not to exceed $3,819,752. Fair motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And any further questions or comments? It sounds like that was described. Did you have anything to add on this item?
No, I just want to say that this project is basically the second part of that program that I talked about. Is about the pipelines to bring the stormwater and the combined sewer to the facility. So.
Very good. Any questions? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Vice President Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
President Stonesifer?
Yes. And I'm going to, I had a little mistake on the agenda. So the proposed action items were items 9, 10, and 11 on the website. And so we're going now to action item 8, which is to adopt the resolution concerning the 2024 human needs priorities. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Ryan definitely moves.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Vice President Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
President Stonecipher?
Yes, and that brings us to the end of our action items.
Council President Stonecipher?
Yes.
So I got a little caught off guard with the numbering, and I did have a comment about one of our proposed action items this evening. If we
Absolutely,
may
please.
revisit it, please.
Absolutely. Which
Thank you.
item?
Action item number 11 regarding the second reading to adopt an ordinance approving appropriations of the 2023 revised City of Everett budget. So I just want to make a quick comment last week based on some of the emails that we received this past week, and just wanted to expand on some of the comments that I had made last week to provide additional clarity. I did read through all of the emails that we received today and the last couple of days, so I feel up to date on everything. I just wanted to recap real quick. So last year's budget included 252 FTEs for the Everett Police Department, and Susie confirmed that the FTE level with this budget amendment is now 263. Chief Templeman last week confirmed that there are 22 vacancies, and with the approval of the COPS grant and other positions, it's closer to about 29 vacancies now. We all know the great work that Officer Rebellis has been doing with recruiting and the numbers of new officers that have been sworn in the last 2 years. But with natural attrition, we've been hovering at about 20 vacancies. So now that the numbers are bumped up to almost 30, I'd like to see a consideration to release some of these vacancies to other departments for much-needed staff relief. Forefront of my mind is Fire, who actually has 6 less FTEs than 2020, and a line item for overtime that's concerning from both a budget standpoint and an employee welfare standpoint. I'm not suggesting, nor did I suggest, releasing all of the vacancies. I understand the purpose and the tactic of a vacancy offset, but I still see that with releasing some vacancies, but not more than what dip us below the FTE levels of 252 and jeopardize the COPS grant, that there's still enough funded vacancies with EPD that leaves room for growth. And even with the additional positions at the academy, and other departments can finally start seeing staffing relief as well. And with a potential levy lid lift, these positions with EPD could be the first, we could share with voters, it could be the first to be restored. I know my numbers might be off by a plus or minus of a FTE or two, but I prefer, please don't let that be a reason for dismissal of my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Great. We will now move into our executive session, which is expected to last 10 minutes, and we are expected to take action following that. Thank you. The City Council is back from our executive session, and I will call on City Attorney Hall to help us understand the action we're going to take.
Sure. We're hoping you'll ask for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement to resolve a workers' compensation claim by former employee Aaron Westvang in the total amount of $170,000.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Vice President Tui,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. With no further business, we are adjourned.
VA and G.